Thank you very much, dear Dr. Mark Dunfried. It is always a pleasure for me to be here with my colleagues in your institute to debate with the students and the attendants you are inviting this afternoon. As you rightly said, unfortunately, Minister Haddad is not with us. It was not possible for him to come for unforeseen reasons. So I will try to speak, of course, on the subject you are focusing on. It's tourism, particularly tourism in Morocco, even if I'm not the best one to make it. Well, but before that, I would like to give you probably an overview about the current situation in Morocco. It's evolving when it comes to politics, economy, culture, which, by the way, this evolving of these various fields do explain the resilience of tourism currently in Morocco. If you assess and analyze the situation in the Mediterranean, particularly the south shore of the Mediterranean, there is unfortunately a decrease, let's say, of the turnover of the tourism for the reasons all of you know. The turmoil, the instability, the confrontation, and unfortunately even the development of wars in the region. But Morocco is resisting, and I will, in the tourism, as in other sectors, but is resisting in the tourism, which is very, very symbolic. And I will try to explain to you why, before probably turning to the tourism sector itself, and then, of course, exchange with you through your question if you have questions. Well, Morocco is, as I told you, currently in a very stable situation, very, normal life for the population, normal political life. We had, for example, elections last summer, local elections with huge participation, and we will have, again, national and legislative elections next October. Very important. It means that the institutional life in Morocco is going normally, and if I should say so, very positively. This is due to, I try to draw your attention on these facts, that we are in a long-term process reforms since, at least the mid-90s, deep reforms in our political institutions, also in our social field and institutions. So these reforms are explaining the fact that Morocco is now in the best condition possible, despite all this turmoil I spoke about. But there are roots behind these reforms, very deep roots, and these roots are linked with the nature of our political regime in Morocco. As you know, of course, we are a monarchy since many, many, many centuries. Needless to go back to all the history. What does monarchy mean for Moroccans? It means that Moroccans feel themselves represented in a legal way with legitimacy. The King of Morocco is very popular, not only because of his own behavior, of course, which is famous, but also because he is at the top of this institution currently, as it was the case for the former kings, and representing the people of Morocco adhering to this institution. And this institution also is evolving with the Moroccan society. It is not the same that was governing Morocco in the 19th century, or even in the beginning of the 20th century, or the mid of the 20th century. There is a politics, if you wish, so of hearing also the population, like it was the case when the Arab Springs occurred. Unfortunately, in other countries around, there were confrontations, even with military and police presence in the streets. That was not the case in Morocco. We had demonstrations, important demonstrations, but in a peaceful way, without confrontation, without having the army or the police, etc., confronting the population. So this is very quickly the fundamental elements explaining our normal evolution when it comes to the political field, which make Morocco in a normal way, living in a normal status. Probably if we want to speak about the current, let's say, situation or activities, or let's say, in Morocco, we had, for example, a general strike called for 2 weeks ago by the trade unions in Morocco, without any problematic, like in, the very well-developed democratic countries. We had these general strikes and there were debates. So we have more and more this culture of debate, of dialogue, of peaceful dialogue in the country, and with a lot of intermediates. And for example, strong political parties, trade unions, but also the role of civil society there, explaining the fact that Morocco is interacting in a positive way. So, this stability from, political evolution does explain also the fact that we are developing our economy and our society in the right way. But let me speak also about the challenges and the threats Morocco is confronting. We know, all of us, of course, today, that one of the top priorities of the international community is security, and particularly fighting against terrorism, which is unfortunately harming all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, Africa, etc. Well, so we have also, of course, our own concerns when it comes to this phenomena in our country. And this is why we have developed a strategy with a comprehensive approach to face the terrorism by reforms, social reforms, by trying first and above all to find jobs for our young population, but also to try to emancipate our society, offering the possibility for a gender approach, which is developing more and more in Morocco. And to be very concrete, for example, I spoke about the election in the introduction. We had, for example, during the last local elections, which are very important, 25% of the elected persons were ladies and women. We have now in our council, in the councils of our local communities, which is very important, the quarter of them are women, which is then explaining this process of social reforms together with the political reforms, making Morocco confronting these threats I spoke about, which is terrorism, radicalism, extremism, and as said by my predecessors, my two predecessors, we are an open-mind country, historically speaking. This is why our approach when it comes to the religion is a tolerant one. We live our religion, in an open way, accepting the other, respecting the others. And again, to give you an example, 3 weeks ago, Morocco hosted a major conference of religious dialogue with the representatives from the other religions, monotheist religions, Christians, Jews, but also from other believers from all over the world. And one of the phrases, referred to in the message of His Majesty the King of Morocco for this event was the following. He said, in Morocco, we don't have minorities. Moroccan Jews are Moroccan citizens. We have still a small, Jewish community, even if those who left the country before, they are still, of course, coming and visiting. Likewise, we have also Christian citizens, Moroccan citizens living in the country without any problem. So the political reforms, the social reforms, and then also most important, the economic reforms, because as said by former President Clinton of United States, it's about economy. Needless to continue the phrases, but economy is at the heart of our problematics. We are a developing country. We have to face huge challenges. Those I spoke about before, in terms of security, in terms of political reforms, but we have to develop our economy to answer, the means and the request of our society, which are very, very difficult and sometimes very problematic. I would like to give you just one example. In less, and it's very, significant, in less than 25 years, the urban population of Morocco doubled. I'm not sure that even in the developed countries, even like Germany, of course, whom we respect for its very successful policy, I'm not sure that even in such countries, they will have the possibility to face all the consequences of having their cities doubling in less than one generation. These are some challenges we are facing in Morocco, and this is why our economy had to also be transformed, and I should say we did it in a positive way too, with optimism, because once the globalization came, probably 30, 40 years ago, we made the choice. We have to face this challenge. We have to participate, to live with this challenge. This was done by Morocco, and in terms of our economic policy, we negotiated successfully, for example, trade agreements with major powers when it comes to economy, like European Union, United States, and in other parts of the world, with Turkey, for example, and some Gulf states. So this is the target, the purpose, the goal was to make Morocco, in this competition, facing the problematics, the challenges, the difficulties, but at the same time, seizing the opportunities. This is why today we have an industry which is developing very strongly in some very developed fields, like, for example, the auto construction, the auto components, aeronautic, etc. So, if you visit Morocco, you will see that the architecture of our economy is moving, because we were, till the recent past, focusing mainly on agriculture and tourism, for example, fisheries, some trade, but no, more and more, if you analyze and study the income, the GDP of Morocco, for example, the industry and the services are developing very well. So, more than that, when speaking about globalization, and we took the right decision, in my view, to anticipate the future. For example, in the energy field, Morocco now is well known as one of the leader countries worldwide for developing sustainable energy, renewable energy, solar, wind particularly, but also biomass, etc. And this is why, by the way, we will, I'm sure we will follow it very closely in the months ahead. Morocco will host the next session of the Climate Change Convention parties, the COP22. It would be in Marrakesh, and this is also a recognition by the International Committee of the role my country is trying to play, also to contribute to the international effort to confront our common difficulties, our common challenges. And I would like to finish trying to explain this, as I said, the facts as they are nowadays in Morocco by the field of culture. Culture is of utmost importance. And I would like to thank Dr. Dunfried, who raised the fact that we as embassy here, with our modest means, trying to push ahead, all what is done by Morocco, but also to present Morocco with its various faces within its diversity. So culture for Morocco is very important. And if you get the chance to try to, take an overlook about what is going on right now in Morocco in terms of infrastructure first. We are building, a huge infrastructure in terms of museums, in terms of theaters, in terms also of, facilities for the young people to express themselves, but also to receive from the others, because we are every year in critical times organizing huge festivals, but also small festivals to which participate many, many representatives coming from all over the world. This is why we have also this strategy, and it is linked with the sector you are focusing on in your forum this year, with the tourism. Yes, indeed, the tourism is something very important for Morocco too. Very successful, probably not at the level of our own ambitions, but as I said to you, the resilience and also the fact that there was no decrease in the level of the tourism of Morocco these past few years. To the contrary, for example, for Germany, there is a growth, a very important growth, since 4 years. For example, in 2015, we got a growth of 8% in terms of market, in terms of turnover. So the tourism is important because it is inscribed in our national strategy to have a diverse economy. You may, of course, witness the difficulties some countries, unfortunately, are facing today due to the oil market, for example. Monolithic economics. They are suffering a lot, which is not the case of Morocco. With other countries, we have a diverse economy, trying to develop, some important sectors for the job market, like agriculture, steel, of course, like industry, etc. So tourism in this, scenario is important because it offers a lot of jobs. It's over a million of jobs in Morocco, which is very important. It is in some regions in Morocco, not only the major, but sometimes among the very, very few activities you can develop in some regions. So it's very important. And it is diverse itself in its conception, because we have the historical, cultural tourism, the ecological tourism, the sport tourism, and of course, also tourism for those who like to, enjoy the seas, the nature, which is also something very important in Morocco. And I would like to say, not to prolong anymore my introduction, then we can have a debate. For us, probably the key of the tourism in Morocco is the hospitality of the population. Believe me, probably those of you, some of you have already visited Morocco, but the population is the key, because very open, very chivalrous, offering and trying also to share. This is in our tradition, in our customs. So if you visit Morocco, you have first, to visit Moroccans. The nature is something special, fantastic, like in other countries, like here in Germany. Also, but the population and the customs. And we will hopefully, after our debate and the end of our discussions, share some, some cook and foods coming from the Moroccan embassy this afternoon. But this is also a major factor in tourism in Morocco, that you can be sure and reassured that you will not spend your time without tasting probably one of the best, cooking worldwide. So I would like to thank you and thank again the ICD for hosting us this afternoon. Normally, we would have with us the Secretary General of our Ministry of Tourism. She was announced for a plane this afternoon. I'm not sure she's in. She's there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So probably, Madam, you can join me and give also some details better than me when it comes to your own sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.